Meze has always done a great job when it comes to naming their products. The 99 Neo, dark, thick, heavy, moody. The 99 Classics, a creamy mid-range that inspires and evokes memories of vintage hi-fi from the 70s. The Lyric, a sophisticated looking and sounding headphone. The Elite and the Empyrean are every bit as much hand-machined pieces of art as they are pieces of beautiful hi-fi. But now we come to the Meze 109 Pro. And I kind of feel like Meze have potentially dropped the ball here, because I really think that the 109 Pro are so much more than that name implies. So before I start talking about these headphones' unique qualities, I really need to talk about their build and their engineering. The first thing I noticed when opening up the 109's carry case was just how pleasant the walnut ear cups were to the touch, how premium they felt, how smooth they were. Now, what's extra interesting about this to me is the fact that Meze claimed that this is actually sustainably sourced walnut, which is something that, I personally really appreciate. I know it's not going to be important to everyone, but I think it's something that more hi-fi and headphone manufacturers should be doing, sustainable engineering and manufacturing. It's a trend I'd really like to see grow and continue from here. The next thing I noticed when lifting them up out of the carry case was, of course, the weight. Now, these are a pretty substantial feeling headphone because along with that walnut, you also have zinc and manganese steel. And while I definitely wouldn't describe these headphones as feeling heavy, I would, at the 375 grams that they weigh, describe them as feeling substantial. It's an incredibly sturdy and strong feeling design as well. What makes this so interesting, however, is just how well distributed that weight is. To quote Ned Flanders, "It feels like I'm wearing nothing at all." Now, the 109 Pro uses the exact same headband as the 99 Classic, or at least it seems to be. And I think what makes this really interesting to me is the 109 Pro is a heavier headphone, but the headband works exactly the same. That weight distribution is still absolutely perfect. So I guess it just really shows the forward thinking that went into the engineering of that original 99 Classic headphone design. And I absolutely have to talk about the velour cushions. Unlike the weight, which does its best not to draw attention to itself, these ear pads absolutely demand your attention. There are no shortage of headphones out there where I've put them on and the ear pads have made me think, oh yeah, this is comfortable, I can wear this for a while. But there are very, very few that I've put on and I've said, wow, that feels nice. I like it when these headphones are on. The 109 Pros fall into that latter category. Now, if you're wondering about the actual specifications of these particular headphones, the drivers are 50 millimeters each, and if you want to get super technical, they actually use a dual composite diaphragm design. The dome is made from carbon fiber cellulose composite, and the torus surrounding the dome, on the other hand, is made of beryllium-coated semi-crystalline polymer. The frequency response runs the gambit from 5 Hz up to 30 kHz, and with a sensitivity of 112 dB SPL at 1 kHz or 1 milliwatt, you can drive these headphones with pretty much anything. And lastly, before I get into what all of these specifications mean in terms of the actual sound itself, I just got to say, these headphones look so good. I feel like they ride that line between being classy and blingy, but practical, like pretty much flawlessly. I feel like I can walk around town wearing these open public without drawing too much unwanted attention to myself, which I can't say for every high-end headphone. They're fashionable and cool and look expensive, but they don't make you look like an absolute wanker, if you know what I mean. You know what I find boring? Neutrality. Like if you've ever tried having a political debate with someone who's politically neutral, it is one of the most boring, most tedious, most uninteresting things you could possibly do. Or I guess another example would be, imagine what it's like to talk to someone about music who only listens to Nickelback. Just can't do it. In all aspects of my life, I need some spice. I need some flavor. And when I see the word Pro in a product's name, that's not something that comes to mind. And this is where the Meze 109 Pro really come into their own, because this isn't something I say often. You really do get the best of both worlds. So let's start with bass, because, you know, usually with open back headphones, that's kind of the first place people's minds go. The bass is going to be a little bit weaker than a closed back. But the Meze 109 Pro's bass, it's bold, it's thick, it's heavy. Using Genesis Owusu's Balthazar for an example, there is a very dark undercurrent to that particular track, which is absolutely sold by the amount of sub bass found through the Meze 109 Pro's presentation of the track. Is it going to rattle your brain? No. But at the same time, regardless of the track, there was never a point where the Meze 109 Pros sounded like they were overexerting themselves or overextending either. Bruce Lee famously once said we should be like water. Water can crawl or it can crash. And listening to tracks like Car Seat Headrest, Deadline's Thoughtful, it really does feel like Meze have taken that sort of mentality and philosophy and actually applied it to the Meze 109 Pro's bass performance. If I was going to use a single word to describe the bass of these particular headphones, it would have to be fluid. The 109s also have an incredibly textured vocal delivery. The fact that in Anni's only time her voice is absolutely soaked in reverb does absolutely nothing to hide the details in her vocal delivery from these headphones, nor does it do it from the backing vocalists either. Its presentation in both the upper and the lower mid-range also shows a great deal of control. The natural decay on top of the already reverb-drenched pads in Fever Ray's North creates a sensation I can only really compare to being lost in a snowstorm. And then there's the uncanniness to the way guitars are presented in the right recording. It's hard not to be swept up when listening to tracks like Bill Callahan's Javelin Unlanding, a track that was recorded in a studio, but the Meze's deliveries of the guitars in this particular track almost sounds like a live recording. There's an organicness to the mid-range, which I think is really hard not to appreciate. And then there's the treble, which I think is where the Pro in Meze 109 Pro actually comes from. Because man, these are some exceptionally detailed headphones. And this is where the real magic of the Meze 109 Pro lies, because not only have they achieved this great level of treble detail, but they've done it without creating a headphone that ever sounds bright or harsh. If you're a fan of tracks like The Flaming Lips, Yoshimi vs. the Pink Robots Part 1, then you are in for an absolute treat, because these headphones will absolutely reward you in spades. But even when listening to poorer recordings such as Chop Suey by System of a Down, the Meze 109 Pros do a fantastic job of removing a lot of the harshness in the areas such as the cymbals. System of a Down's toxicity, truly one of the greatest victims of the loudness wars. Now when you combine that smooth treble and all that information and detail with an incredibly wide soundstage and fantastic imaging, well, I think you have something pretty damn special. Because the other thing that caught me off guard, despite this being an open back headphone, was just how good the dynamics are. Despite Enigma's MCM XC AD being possibly my all-time favorite album, it wasn't until listening to this particular LP through the Meze 109 Pros that I could truly appreciate the intricacies and the subtleties of tracks like Callous Went Away. And another great album for testing those dynamics is actually Pink Floyd's Animals 2018 remix, a re-release. It's not quite a remaster, it's a bit of a different interpretation. And I'm going to upset some of the purists here. Even though the dynamic range of this particular release isn't as good as the original album's release from 1977, I think there are other changes to the mix that make it the superior version. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make, but if you disagree, let me know in the comments. Also, Dark Side of the Moon is overrated and Animals is a better album. Anyway, I got sidetracked. There are so many subtle intricacies to this album's sound mix that just really pop out with the 109s in a subtle way, such as the animal recordings and the backgrounds, or even little things like little bits of noodling acoustic guitar that I've never really picked up on that well before. It's all laid out before you, and none of it's buried, no matter how loud Roger Waters is in the mix. And I'll be real with you, there's no reason to stop at music when we're talking about these dynamics. I spent quite a lot of time gaming with these particular headphones, and I had an absolutely fantastic time. If you really want to experience these headphones at their peak, I highly recommend checking out some Dolby Atmos compatible games and running them through the Dolby Atmos for Headphones app. You will have an absolutely incredible time. In well-engineered environments, the amount of detail you can hear in the ambient soundscapes is just It's absolutely stunning. And don't even get me started on the sound of guns. The shotgun in Resident Evil 4, now that's dynamic. So really, this is a very long-winded way of saying that these headphones sound great. I don't know how else to describe the sound signature of these headphones other than effortless. You're getting the detail and the balance of a pro set of cans, but you're also getting the flavor and the spice of a personally tailored hi-fi system. And I think that's really bloody special. Now, most of my time with the Meze 109 Pro has been spent with me listening to them, unsurprisingly, at home. The big problem with home is I just have way too much gear to pair them with. So let's start small, the Chord Mojo 2. Everything I've just said about the sound signature carries over and is amplified. What I did find though is the Chord Mojo 2 really pushed that soundstage just that little bit wider and really solidified that imaging, really locking it in place. I also tried the Chord Anni using the Chord Qutest as a digital source. And if you are looking at using these headphones for pro work, this is an absolutely killer combination. Together, they really do offer an absolutely obscene level of detail. This does, however, come at a cost. If you're someone who only listens to really, really great recordings, look, you're going to have an amazing time and you're going to absolutely love this combination. However, if you're like me and you enjoy getting down and dirty with bands like the Chats, or even just enjoy watching YouTube videos with headphones at your desk, well, this combination kind of acts as a magnifying glass on all the imperfections in those recordings, and it can spoil things a little bit for you. So that is something to be aware of. I guess you could say that's the result of having too much of a good thing. That said, if you pair the Chord Qutest and you pair it with something like the Auris HA2 SE Plus, you're going to get all the benefits of the detail from that Chord Qutest DAC. But that tube headphone amplifier really smooths things over, and it does an amazing job of making those lesser recordings enjoyable again. At least it did for me. With that mid-range bump and that smooth treble roll-off, courtesy of the Auris with the Chord Qutest and the 109 Pros, you almost get an experience which is, I guess, possibly almost like what the 99 Classics would have been like in another reality where they were a hyper-detailed focus headphone. It's really interesting and very cool. Lastly, I absolutely loved using these headphones with my home hi-fi system, my main personal hi-fi system. It was amazing just being able to sit and really enjoy my CDs and vinyl through my Audiolab 6000A integrated amplifier late at night without having to worry about disturbing anyone. It sounded amazing, and the convenience of it and the comfort of it just kicked it up to that next level. And this was mainly possible to do comfortably thanks to the fact that Meze had the foresight to put a 3-meter headphone cable along with a 1.5-meter cable in the pack, much like they do with the 99 Classics. Otherwise, it's something I wouldn't have even tried. And honestly, this ended up being my favorite combination, not because of the sound quality, but because it encouraged me to listen to CDs and vinyl late into the night, which normally I wouldn't do because my partner would be trying to sleep or I don't want to upset the neighbors. So the fact that it got me listening to more vinyl and more of my physical media after hours, well, that made it my favorite listen. If somebody was to ask me what's going to get me to spin more vinyl in my free time, the last thing I would ever expect to respond with would be a pair of headphones. But here we are, and I'm very grateful for it. Now, if you would like more information on the Chord Mojo, the Anni, the Qutest, or the Auris headphone amplifier mentioned in this video, I have videos on all of these products coming up, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. And likewise, if you want to know more about the Audiolab 6000A integrated amplifier, I've already covered this extensively in another video, and you can find a link to that video in the description below. Sometimes you don't want to listen at home. You want to listen where I am. Well, okay, maybe not specifically where I am. I'm in a rifle range bunker from World War II, but you do know what I mean. Now, I currently have 2 mobile DACs that are my personal favorites to use with the Meze 109 Pros. Now, when I'm out in quiet places like this, I tend to prefer the Earmen Sparrow. With the 109s, you get a really lush and rich sound. It's incredibly spacious. You get very smooth, creamy bass. and overall it's just a very relaxed listen. I recently covered this in another video, so if you want to check out that Earmen Sparrow video, I do recommend checking it out with a link in the description below. I would also highly recommend the AudioQuest Dragonfly Cobalt. With the Cobalt, you get snappier treble, you get much more muscular bass, and it's just an all-around more urgent listen, and better probably for louder, more public environments. It definitely lies more on the full sound side of the spectrum than the microdynamic side, which I think is more the Earmen Sparrow's domain. If I could use a music analogy here for a moment, the Earmen Sparrow is a bit like the Cuers close to me, whereas the AudioQuest Dragonfly Cobalt is more like the Cuers Fascination Street. Whichever of those two tracks you prefer, well, now you know which mobile DAC is right for you. Do I have any complaints? Yeah, sure, nothing is ever perfect. I really wish that the 1.5 meter cable that came with this particular headphone, at least out of the box, was more like the 1.5 meter cable found in the 99 Classic. There's a very specific reason for this. Aside from the fact that I feel like the braided cable is a more premium feeling to the touch, I also prefer the flexibility of that particular cable. Sitting at a desk with my headphone amplifier right next to me, the cable never bunches up. It's always easy to kind of put where I want it to. And I find the cable that comes with the 109 Pro, it can be a little bit firmer, and it just kind of, I don't know, can get in the way a little bit sometimes. And that's it. That's literally all I've got. I genuinely think that the 109 Pros might be my personal endgame headphone. Now, that isn't to say that they are the most impressive headphones I have access to, because they aren't. I currently have access to the Meze Empyrean as well as the Dan Clark Audio Expanse, and those are both far more expensive and in a lot of ways more impressive headphones. But up until now, I've needed 3 pairs of headphones to do everything I want. I have a pair of headphones that I use for video editing production. I have a pair of headphones that I use when I'm playing video games, and I have a pair of headphones that I use when I'm listening to music. They all serve different purposes because their sound signatures are well suited to those particular, well, tasks. But I found that the 109 Pro is just so fantastic and well balanced that it does all 3 of these things basically effortlessly. And it's really making me consider why I need 3 pairs of headphones to enjoy what I do. For me and my lifestyle, the 109 Pros do everything I need, and they do it with confidence. Meze have proved to me that I can have my cake and eat it too. And if you consider the Meze 109 Pro as well for yourself, well, you might be able to have your cake as well. Now, if you would like more information on the Meze 109 Pros or any of the products that I spoke about today in this particular video, you can find links to all of these on our website in the description below. Alternatively, you could leave a comment in the comments section below. We always love those. You can hit us up via email at info@lank.com.au, or you can give us a call. I have had an absolute blast with the Meze 109 Pros, and if it's something that you're interested in as well, we want to help you experience them too. Thank you as always for watching, and bye for now.